been a long day, baby.
You're listening to What She Said on Canada Talks.
Well, if you've had a long day, we want to tell you about Foodie Foods frozen entrees. They're made with high-quality, natural, non-modified, local, whole foods and cooked using state-of-the-art techniques. With Foodie, you get flavors from around the world at your fingertips, from freezer to plate in 15 minutes. Foodie, globally inspired and locally sourced. For more, you can go online to foodie.ca, and that's FUDI.ca. Now, when we're talking about nutrition, we want to check in with nutrition and wellness expert Adele Tevlin. Welcome to What She Said.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So we're busy. We're all busy. Staying healthy is one of the problems that I have, in that I don't want to be buying a whole lot of packaged foods all the time. So what should we do?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of my clients are busy entrepreneurs who don't have time to cook a lot of their meals. So what I always say to people is actually, you don't have to go from one extreme to the other, which is, only prepare everything at home. There are a lot of healthy options out there. And the thing is that everywhere you go today has a salad that you can buy. You can even go to McDonald's and buy a salad. And I always say to people that it's just even like starting with those small healthy habits by changing the macronutrients that you eat in your meals. They don't always have to be, organic if you don't have time to do that. You really can buy something healthy everywhere at this point. It's not like it was 10 years ago where you couldn't get a salad anywhere. You can go to Subway and get a salad.
Yeah, but some of those dressings that they put on the salad, you end up with more fat, sugar, salt, and stuff in the dressing.
Absolutely. So that's where I teach people how to modify. I tell them, if you're going to get a salad at McDonald's, let's say, because that's the only thing available, don't use the dressing or try to find a better dressing source. But you don't have to go. I find that people really are a little bit dichotomous when it comes to health. They think they have to only eat organic, locally sourced food, or they go and eat fast food. You know what I mean? So there is a healthy balance, especially if you're a busy person.
So I suppose really what it comes down to is trying to make steps. Just take a step. Just take a step in the right direction, and don't be discouraged if you can't do the whole Monty.
That is exactly it. I think a lot of people feel like I'm either going to, I'm a holistic nutritionist, that's my schooling. And a lot of people think, okay, I have to grow my own, do my own bread or, make my own milk and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is that if you make a small change, healthy change every day, then you're doing the right thing.
So things like, it's occurred to me before to carry something like a little spritzer with oil and vinegar for salads, because the stuff that you get, it's stuff you can't pronounce.
Exactly. So things like, if you had to go get a salad at Subway because it's all there is, if you had your own dressing with you, that would already make the meal a lot healthier because you'd have your olive oil and your omega fats.
Right.
Starting with the proper breakfast, even having a couple hard-boiled eggs with you that you can make from home from the night before. Those kinds of things.
Or even instant oatmeal.
Or even, or even instant oatmeal. There's definitely options, and people, I think, often go from one extreme, like I'm either going to eat a muffin or I'm going to eat something really, really healthy. But there are little steps in between, and I'm a big believer in incremental change as opposed to overhauling your whole life, because that's not sustainable for people.
Do you think it's sustainable to carry little packages of things around with you? Because if I didn't do instant oatmeal, I'd be doing the cinnamon bun.
Yeah.
With tons of sugar.
Exactly, the one extreme or the other. Well, I even think things like healthy bars, there's a few bars that I really love. I'm not a huge proponent of eating processed food, but if you had to eat a bar, it'd be better than going and eating a cinnamon bun. So yeah, I teach a lot of my clients, here are the 3 or 4 things you can have in your bag that would be healthy, like having some nuts or a piece of fruit, a healthy bar, hard-boiled eggs for the morning. That's what I carry around with me so that I don't go to Tim Hortons and get a bagel.
Now, the other thing, too, that we've talked about with other people, which is people have said, well, nothing frozen, because it used to be in the old days that was processed garbage.
Yes.
But now people are saying absolutely. Get frozen vegetables, get frozen fruit, get all kinds of frozen stuff, because the bar has been raised really high.
Absolutely. And freezing your food doesn't actually deter from the nutrients. It's actually more heating the food. So frozen vegetables and fruit have the same amount of nutrients. So if you are someone who's not going to go and get fresh food, fruit and vegetables every day, frozen is a better option.
who is the person that goes and gets fresh?
Well,
fresh
exactly.
fruits
I know
and
I'm not that
vegetables?
person, and I'm a nutritionist, and that's why I really believe in moderation, because, if you went from that one extreme to the other, then you're never going to find that balance. So some days you eat really, really well, organic, and other days you have to grab a salad on the go, and that's okay.
Yeah. So what are some of the things, we've been told for years, it's like read the labels, read the nutrition labels. When we're busy, we often don't have time to read the nutrition labels. Are there like 3 main things we should look for though?
Yeah. I would say I really think that reading the sodium label is huge. People don't realize how much sodium they consume. So, we're really meant to eat about 1,200 to 1,500 milligrams of sodium a day. And if you think about some of the foods we're eating, one serving of, to give you an example, 1 teaspoon of soy sauce is about 15 milligrams. So people who go and eat sushi and then douse it with a soy sauce, they're getting so much sodium. And if you're at risk for heart disease or anything like that, it's a huge issue.
I buy low sodium soy sauce.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. But it's still 800 milligrams. So
Really?
you really have to watch, especially if you're someone who genetically retains a lot of water and you eat a lot of sodium, you're going to feel bloated and puffy, and that's going to impact how you feel about your body, because you're going to go, oh my God, the scale said this today. But really, it's that you're just retaining a lot of water.
The other thing I always check next is sugar.
Yes. Well,
Because it's unbelievable how much
sugar.
sugar can be in things that don't even taste sweet.
Sugar is unbelievably important. It's also important to see what kind of sugar, where it's sourced. Is it fructose? Is it from real fruit? Or is it really processed? And that's why really reading the label is, you have to look at the first 2 ingredients. If the first 2 ingredients are sucrose and something else, that's full of sugar. If sucrose or fructose is the last ingredient, that means it's a little bit less of that. So reading the sugar label is important. And I also think reading the fiber is important, because fiber offsets the sugar. So if something is 20 milligrams of sugar, but 10 milligrams of fiber, or grams of fiber rather, that means you're only getting a net effect of 10 grams.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's a big one. So that means that the fiber slows the digestion of sugar. So you're not actually impacting your blood sugar as much.
If you've ever done Weight Watchers in the point system, you know that. You're looking at you have an automatic calculator in your head of timesing by 9 to make sure that the calories aren't higher than the protein that goes, or the fat that goes through it, and it works out. We're speaking with nutrition and wellness expert Adele Tevlin. So you check, though, for saturated and trans fat content and cholesterol as well as sodium.
So I would say trans fats, absolutely. That's definitely the most deadly of fats. But actually most recent research around saturated fats is a little bit polarized, where it's actually not as bad as we used to think it was.
Well, it's the coconut oils.
Yeah, the coconut oils are like sometimes saturated, or they're short chain or medium chain fatty acids. But I actually think more trans fats. Other than that, fats are really not bad for us. They still really get a terrible rap. It's such an 80s thing, like especially a Weight Watchers thing, because
which is when everyone started to get fatter.
Everyone
right?
started to get fat because they thought, oh, the calories are higher, the fat's higher, I've got to reduce my fat. But we actually know that fats make us burn fat. The membranes of the fat actually help us digest fat.
I'm so happy I can eat full fat yogurt.
I know. I actually tell people that if you're going to do yogurt, please eat full fat. It's such a paradigm shift. People are still really stuck in that mindset of low fat. But the low fat craze is why we have an
they
obesity
add sugar
epidemic.
to make it
exactly.
taste good.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And even things like, people go to Starbucks and they get the low fat loaf. It's like, no, just get the regular loaf. That's actually better for you if you're good. So even those small educational pieces for people who are busy will help them in the long run.
So tell us a little bit about, Foodie is sponsoring your segment. So, and it's something I haven't heard about, but it sounds like it's state-of-the-art cooking techniques, freezer to plate, what kind of thing, and meals from around the world.
Yeah, so it's great. So they actually tried a couple of the meals myself with my partner, and they were delicious. So they do, like right now, what we have at home is chicken. It's like a chicken, barley, and a kale. So it's great. So it's actually like the chicken is organic, non-GMO, like no hormones. The barley is a great grain, which is high in fiber. So again, the insulin response is less. And then of course, kale is a superfood. So it kind of gives you a perfectly portioned size with the right macronutrient content. So it's really great. And it's done sous vide, so it's actually retains all the nutrients.
I got to get one of these sous vide. Can you explain to people how it works? Because I've got to get one because it's such an amazing
I
cooking
don't even know
technique.
what it is.
It just
I've never
means
heard of it.
you put the bag in boiling water and
Right.
for just a few minutes, and it just kind of it's already pre-cooked. So it just kind of heats it up without putting it in a microwave, which is important.
But then the say it again?
Sous vide.
Sous vide. So when they're actually cooking it, it's a very slow cooking technique, which you can do. And it actually can turn, if you're using it as a cooking technique, it can turn very, very poor cuts of meat into excellent cuts of meat. This is... it's a new thing. I have a friend who's a chef who's been like, you got to get one, you got to get one. It's amazing. So this is kind of like an upgrade of what we used to think of as boil in the bag.
Exactly, because it's you do it for such a short amount of time that it's actually already cooked for you. I mean, my biggest thing is anything where I don't have to use a microwave, I'm happy. So I love that you can literally put it in for a few minutes and then you've got your meal and it's already prepared and the nutrients are kept in. And the flavor and the taste is delicious. So you're actually eating something frozen but not, and it tastes really nice.
So would the idea then be that if you, let's say, did something in a crock pot, let's say you cooked chili or whatever, that you would then put it in a bag that you could put in a pot of boiling water instead of...
Well, if you froze it and then to reheat it, you mean? Yeah. Absolutely.
So preparing larger quantities of food might be a good idea?
Great. So I always say to people that if you're busy, on a Sunday, if you prepare your food at least till a Wednesday, you're guaranteed your first half a week is starting on the right foot. And I think how you start your week is going to be a good, sets you up for success for later in the week. So if you cook for Sunday and you prepare enough quinoa, let's say, or rice or something, and you've got your protein and your starches and your veggies prepped till Wednesday, and then on Wednesday you only have a few more days to cook for. So that's really helpful for people who are busy as well.
And if you're lucky, somebody might ask you out for dinner.
Exactly. Then maybe on Thursday you get asked for dinner. So then you only really have Friday.
Absolutely. So and where you eat is important.
Where you eat is mindful eating is huge. So, we're a culture where, and I'm like this too, where I read my emails as I'm eating, as I'm driving and doing all these crazy things. And how you eat and where you eat is actually how you're going to assimilate your food. If you think about it, like if you're reading a stressful email and you're eating at the same time, your digestion is going to be totally different than if you're in a calm state. So I really teach clients, especially ones that are busy, is even if it's 20 minutes that you can allocate to a meal, just don't do anything else for those 20 minutes. The other reason is that satiety signal in your brain takes 20 minutes to kick in. So if you finish your meal in 10, there's going to be a lag time where you think you're still hungry. I don't know if you've ever had that where you eat and you're like, I could go for more, but if you actually waited 10 minutes, you wouldn't need more.
Eat slowly.
Well, over
Chew
20
your mouth
minutes.
full.
Every
time.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when you think that we used to, for a sit-down dinner, would easily be an hour, and now people are rushing to get to soccer or whatever. It's
I'm lucky
eating
if I
on the
take
go.
10 minutes, but that's a huge one. I think if you can actually allocate 20 minutes and do nothing else at that time, the mindful eating is incredible because you will actually assimilate your food better. Stress is a huge, if you're stressed while you're eating, you're not going to assimilate your food well. And then you're going to feel hungry. You're not going to feel full.
When I think of mindful eating, I think about the eating I do when I'm bored or when I'm watching TV or when I'm doing something else. Just,
mindless.
It's mindless.
It is mindless. And I think that's actually...
It's boredom.
It's boredom. Well, there's two things, usually people watch TV in the evening, and that's already a time where your inhibition's down. You've been at work all day, your stress level is high, your adrenaline's high. You go home, your parasympathetic system kicks up, so you're calm. And when you're calm, that's when you start your mindless eating, and you just can keep going.
Question. Do you try to find a time in the evening where you stop eating?
So I work with clients specifically where if they tell me that their trigger time is like 9 o'clock, then what I do is I create a strategy where they're not eating at that time because there's this conditioned response to that time of night for them specifically. So I don't think that there's no research that says, that old kind of a paradigm of finish your food by 7. That doesn't actually, there's no kind of merit to that because if you stay up till midnight, finishing at 7 might not actually be practical for you. But it's more that I call it dinner done. So if dinner's at 8 to 9 and 9's your last meal, that's it, dinner done. So there's nothing after that meal.
Is there any research that supports the fact that if you wait 12 hours between eating or 14 hours between eating that your
Intermittent
fasting,
yeah.
that your body really digests better and is better able then to digest the next day?
I'm a huge proponent of intermittent fasting. I find it works really well with my clients who are busy because it's actually the 8-16 rule. So it's 16 hours of a fast.
Okay, let me ask you. Let
Yeah,
me stop.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
a friend of mine, I've been doing the intermittent
Oh,
fasting and
excellent.
done very well losing it.
Actually,
but
I think you've lost weight, right?
I've lost 20 pounds.
That's amazing. Yeah.
But I got a reprieve because a friend of mine said, for women, it's not 16:8, it's 14:10.
Yeah.
I
So
was like, really? I don't have to wait 14 hours? That's good.
Well, you started out, you did 6, so now you could do 14, no
yes.
problem.
Yeah.
So the research is a bit mixed. Definitely the men are 16:8, so they fast for 16 hours. So if you think about it, like you finish your meal at 8 and you don't eat till noon. So for someone who already has a hard time getting breakfast, a healthy breakfast, they skip that whole thing altogether.
That's me.
And then they eat.
That's me.
Yeah, so then they eat, but you have to eat the right lunch. You have to do the proper protocol for it. You can't go from fasting 16 hours to eating a sandwich for lunch. You have to eat a very low glycemic meal, mainly protein and fat. Women can do 14:10, so they can go from 8 to 10 in the morning, which is still great because they don't have to eat breakfast at home. So that sometimes that's where they'd bring the hard-boiled eggs to work. Eat it at 10 kind of thing. So, but I've had women successfully do 16 as well. This is where it varies on the person to person.
Well, because we've also heard that if you eat every 3 hours, that's a good idea. So it's
Yeah.
confusing.
Well, and that's where the thing is, it's confusing, and nutrition is one of the most confusing sciences because it so fast evolves. And I think the intermittent fasting protocol really talks about your hormones. It talks about your thyroid. It actually talks about how we as a society have learned to eat every 2 hours. We're overfeeding ourselves. And then you're always stimulating digestion. You're never giving yourself a break.
Yeah, see, that's how I was. I was always hungry
Yes.
on the 6 small meals a day.
Yeah.
This I can do no problem. And I also know that if I'm doing, because I combine the intermittent fasting with a couple of 500 calorie days,
Yes,
right?
you do that.
Yes,
as well,
I do
yes.
that. And so then I know when I get through today is a 500 calorie day, I know
You're doing
that when
pretty
I
good.
wake up tomorrow morning, I can pretty much have like
What you want.
the biggest breakfast I want, and I'm still losing weight. We have to leave it there for today.
okay.
Adele Tellin, thank you
ladies.
very much. And let me just tell you again about Foodie Foods frozen entrees. They are made with high quality, natural, non-modified, local whole foods and cooked using state-of-the-art techniques. With Foodie, you get flavors from around the world at your fingertips, from freezer to plate in 15 minutes. Foodie, globally inspired, locally sourced. For more, go online to foodie.ca. That's FUDI.ca. Thanks, Adele.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Click the channel subscribe button for full-length interviews and more from What She Said here on YouTube.